This is our review of episode 5 of The Cage. This is the last episode of the season and presumably the last episode of the show, as we have not heard that it's going to be renewed. So at least as of right now, this is all The Cage you are going to get. 5 episodes, and this is the last one of those.
So, Real Gone, if you are listening to this right now and you understand that I'm telling you, make a season 2, I know it's probably not in your hands, but dude, you're the superstar that had the most screen time. Figure it out. You know who to call.
You want more of this? You want?
Oh yeah,
you
get a season 2. Fuck it, let's go.
Are you kidding me?
No. I think season 2, right? If season 2 goes to plan, maybe they're like, okay, we didn't get picked up initially. Maybe there's some flaws. Maybe if we get some new people behind it, if we get a season 2, because I'm kind of, listen, we'll talk about some things that I think should have a season 2 to talk about. So
they certainly did leave some points open for a second season to take place. And yeah, we'll get into all of the details of that. Whether or not I actually would like a second season. I mean, I enjoy doing these reviews with you, Chase. Of course, that would be fun, but God, to have to watch more of this, it's tough.
It's like, some shows, they kind of have an ending that's ambiguous. So it's like, oh, if there's no season 2, there's nothing to pick up on, kind of deal. Wrap the book. They went for it. They were confident season 2 was coming. Netflix was gonna pay for this shit.
Hard cliffhanger. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess let's get into this extended episode. As we've kind of alluded to, this episode, not necessarily like a double length episode, but a normal episode of the show is like 45 minutes. This was like an hour and 5 minutes or so.
I remember turning it on and about 3 minutes had passed and I clicked it. I was like, dang, an hour and 2 left or something like that. So
yeah. So there's a lot to get to. So let's start off by doing just that. Let's get to it. This episode starts at everyone's favorite French monument, the Eiffel Tower again. Chase, did you realize that this show took place in a country called France?
I actually did not notice the Eiffel Tower this time. You know why? I was so starstruck that these people actually had a time jump. They used a time jump. They said 3 months later, we actually got a time line. Like there was actually 3 months had passed. We know this for fact.
So this show, if you've been watching these reviews, this show has jumped around through time. It has expanded and contrasted time like a rubber band. Everywhere, in this timeline is completely confusing. The first time that they decide to give us any actual acknowledgement of time at all is in the final episode of the season. And so we do a little bit of time traveling. Indeed, we go from, what happened with Boss in the last episode to 3 months later, and that text finally comes up on screen for the first time.
I actually would like to critique you real quick.
Yes.
You didn't give us a recap.
Oh, gosh, you're right. I did not. And I did
have it ready.
One.
Okay, it's okay.
Damn, I did not. Yes, let's go through it.
We'll at least go through the final encounter. So where this leads up to 3 months prior,
correct.
Boss was stabbed in an underground fighting rink where Taylor was trying to take the league by storm by beating up the head Nazi in a brutal one-on-one beatdown. This was because Taylor was going through some trauma in the cage and he did not want to compete, where he stepped to the title bout with Ibrahim, I believe, and he did not want to compete. Head trauma was getting to him. He was just a little shaky. He didn't want to do it. And, obviously before this, he was put in the hospital by not Ibrahim. This was in the tournament. He got knocked out in the final second or whatever it was, and then an extra hit on top, sent to the hospital, blah, 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 blah. That was a lot of episode 4. And then this one picks up right after Boss was stabbed, and then 3 months later after that, excuse me. So I think that was a pretty good recap, actually.
Yeah. I mean, just very, very basically, to flesh out a couple of the points, is that we came into it with his mother having been beat up recently. Now he needs to get a little bit of cash. He enters the tournament, has head trauma based on the knockout that he took there. So he's having PTSD, flashbacks, that kind of stuff. Is supposed to fight Ibrahim, does not. Essentially gets jitters and all that kind of stuff.
Bitched by his girlfriend, by the way. That was
Yeah,
key.
that too. She, said that he was not that guy, even though she was trying to be nice, but did not come out correctly. And Boss, the coach, takes him out to an underground fight club in Sweden to try to help him overcome his fears by putting him into the belly of the beast in this underground fight club that turns out to be run by and fought by Nazis, essentially.
Yeah,
Right.
that was actually that was a lot of
exactly.
it. So
That
3
really is
months
the whole thing, yeah.
So 3 months later, Taylor's outside the Eiffel Tower. No, that's not what happened. That was just a roaming cam, right? That was just
No,
like
oh yeah,
showing.
no, it was just an establishing shot of
Okay,
the
okay.
Eiffel Tower,
Yes.
just to remind you that this is taking
Yes,
place in France, if you
absolutely.
didn't know by now.
If we forgot
Right.
in between episodes. Well, he did leave off in wherever, right? Sweden. So I guess decent to pick
Well,
back
yeah.
up
So
here.
what we're the exact point that we left off at was Boss had been stabbed. They're in a stairwell after escaping the Nazi onslaught. They're in a stairwell. Taylor is crying out for help. Essentially, he calls on the phone, but we don't know if he. Yeah, exactly. We don't know if he actually is going to get the help or does not get the help. Whatever. They're inside of a stairwell, and that's where we cut to black. So 3 months later, now we're in Taylor's shitty apartment with the lone female.
Speaking of all black, that's the first thing I noted. Taylor is eating in all black, right?
Yes, no light in the apartment.
Yes, they are very down on themselves. They are still down about Boss. It's 3 months later, so I was thinking weird for them to be in all black. I don't know why. I noticed that he's never worn all black, so that was just interesting to note. And then they're just eating, not saying anything. Taylor gets up, walks to the window, does some dumb shit. I don't even fucking know. And then the fat friend and the roid friend show up, knocking on the door.
That's right.
Yep.
Fat friend and untrustworthy, trustworthy friend bro show up. It's important. And also, I wanted to note that Fat Funny Friend is wearing a Pride shirt. I want that shirt.
I'm glad you noted. I knew not to put that in notes. I literally said I can skip noting it because Thinker will bring this up. And that is great. So that was
absolutely
good. We will talk about his shirts. He does have a Pride shirt. He walks in, hugs the girl, by the way.
Yep.
She was in this scene. I want to know, she was looking real chummy with the fat friend. I'm just saying, like, so
well, friend bro hugged her too. They all shared a nice hug.
Yeah. It was a little too chummy with the fat friend. Anyway. So the fat friend, they talk for a minute, and then they maybe jump right into it, or maybe there was a short conversation in between. But he's like, you recognize him because he shows him CCTV footage on his cell phone, mind you, of the clearest picture of somebody that you could ever manage. And he's got it. And from what I heard, and maybe I'm wrong for how the story proceeds, Taylor said not him. Is that? I heard.
No, I thought that he had said that he thought that he was like, I think so.
No, that was. No? I think that was the first one. There was something, and then they pulled up something else. I don't know what it was. So what I heard not him at something.
Okay, maybe. Again, the details at this point are, was trying to follow every single thing. There might be couple of things that may have slipped, but the Fat Funny Friend shows that CCTV footage of a bald white guy to Taylor, and he's like, "Is this the one?" And my initial thought, all these notes are coming as the stuff is being presented to us. And I'm like, bullshit if he means the guy who stabbed Boss, because Taylor never saw that guy. So, if you go back and that will be confirmed a little bit later on, and I'll tell you when, but so the implication is that they have CCTV footage of the dude who committed this stabbing. And I thought that Taylor said that he confirmed it there. And then they're trying to set it up that it's actually not a Swedish guy. It's actually a French guy like Taylor. That I thought that was funny. He's like a French guy like you. Yeah. Like all of us, right?
What the hell? I did not catch this.
Oh yes. No. So that's the whole thing, is that the guy on the phone was French and not Swedish though. So they're implying that Boss gets stabbed by a dude who is from France, and not because of the riot that broke out at the fight. So my thing was the riot just a convenient occurrence?
Yes. No, I think you are on the right track, because that is making more sense to how the plot, how deep they try to make the plot later. I think that adds up perfectly.
Right.
I also want to make note, and if you remember the scene where Boss gets stabbed, I remember thinking somebody threw something, right?
Well, you heard a sound effect of glass breaking for sure.
But later on in this episode, they do like a little flashback kind of moment, and I swear to you, they show somebody a knife thrown at him. I swear that's one of them. It's not somebody. I never saw one of a dude shivving him. I
Oh, they no, but
swear.
they showed it. They did show it. They showed that exact one because the guy who shivved him was a dude with glasses on. That was the thing too, is that
Okay.
when they finally showed, because what they're setting up with all of this is that essentially this random person, this mystery person, so to speak, is someone that was from Ibrahim's camp, and that big bad villain Ibrahim sent the hit squad out to Sweden, just happened to know that Boss was going to be there with Taylor, and they were putting the hit out on him.
And so that is key to note because in the exact same scene, Taylor's talking about it's not him, and then the fat friend, what did I say? Fat nerd friend is Ned. Oh yeah, from Spider-Man. He's basically Ned. He's the guy in the chair. He knows how to get
Sure.
everything. He gets the CCTV. I said now they're in a vigilante group is like what the vibes are getting at. They're about to go track down this French guy, right? And then I'm questioning, the police sent him the photo or he found it? Like, where did he get this from? These are
Yeah,
the questions that I'm
exactly.
having here. And then he breaks the news. The fat friend has seen him before, right? And
Hmm.
then I also said he's way better than the police. Sorry, I just had to get that one out of the notes.
Sure.
I keep showing more clear photos of him is what I have in the notes here. So they must be going through a whole thing on his phone, like, yeah, he's this guy, he's this guy. And then they break the news that he's friends with Ibrahim. And I did
Right,
the
and
dun
this
dun
is why,
dun.
yes, and this is why it's so ridiculous because if you look at it's like one of Ibrahim's corner people slash coaches or
Yes.
whatever, and if you look at that guy versus the guy who we saw stab Boss, they are definitely not the same person, but we're in the assumption
Close.
that they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean they're both bald.
close.
They're both bald and
Okay.
white.
Okay.
Um,
And
but so
then
yeah, go ahead.
okay, and then so now they all magically remember that Ibrahim was once a part of their camp.
Right, he
And
used to train
Boss
at
was the
Shitty Gym.
coach. Yes, he was, the coach's prodigy at the time. And they now remember all of them because they were all there. The most gruesome woman they've ever seen walk into the gym saying that Ibrahim beat the shit out of her.
Well, at least Fat Funny Friend did. I mean, I guess he was imparting this information to Taylor. Maybe Taylor didn't know, but like, so yes, the fact that there was a woman who was beaten up is now the plot point. We saw in the previous episode as well that Boss had sent some photos to Ibrahim's phone, like, I know your dirty secret here, and it was pictures of this woman who had been beaten up, and we come to find out that Ibrahim beat up his girl.
I would like to note the fact that they have two different plot points about domestic abuse, whatever you want to say, and they both go completely different directions. And it's like, what moral are you trying to send here to each party? Like the four people involved, because there's another scenario we will get into. The four people involved, none of them have like the right path on the way. It's like they're on their way to good after. It's like no, there was no message sent to anybody watching to not do either of them, kind of deal. Like I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Weird.
I mean, and then the grand irony of this being the episode where one John Jones appears, is not lost on me.
We will get into it.
Of course we will. But so basically what happened at this point where we're at is that Fat Funny Friend is recounting the story of that Ibrahim used to train at the same gym that they train at, MMA fighters, quote unquote. That's the name of the gym in the show. Shitty gym as we've been calling it. So he used to train there, and at one point he allegedly beat up his girlfriend. She didn't want to go to the cops, but she did want to go to his MMA gym, which I thought was a very interesting point. This girl is so afraid of Ibrahim and, scared about the situation that she doesn't want to go to the police, but she does feel comfortable going to the gym where he trains.
Yes.
A little bit odd to me, whatever. But so that's what she decided to do. Coach took some pictures of Ibrahim's girl so that Ibrahim wouldn't do it again. And then those are the photos that he has. And
That we saw previously.
correct. Those are the ones that we had saw previously. And then I did think it was funny that the Fat Funny Friend made a point to say that if Ibrahim did it again, Boss was going to go to the police and the media that is constantly watching these French fighters in the amateur level and paying very close attention.
I actually would know. They drifted apart from the social media aspect of this story, and I think that's where it kind of went wrong. I originally thought that was a good idea. Like, man, that's very modern to take like a social media take into an MMA show. Two things. You have one thing that's very common and one thing that's not very common. Have a common ground kind of deal. But then they go into what we see in this episode, and it's like you had something. I thought. but you just make it hard to watch.
You make a good point. I don't think I really picked up on it at the time because of how like ensconced we've become with this show. But you're right; they did the social media was a big part earlier on in the program, and then now really didn't play much of a part at all on this one.
In this scenario, like, because Fat Friend is obviously going nuts. He's literally spieling everything that he's ever known about this guy randomly now after 3 months after Boss has left, and fucking 9 years, whoever knows how many, whatever.
Well,
And
3 months at least, right?
yeah, so 3 months at least. And so my next note is Taylor is going to become Batman now. Like, this is this, and that is crazy that I say that now for what we see later. But like the social media aspect, he could have done so many things at so many different parts of the story if he has such a large social media following, like we're supposed to believe. He's some global, phenomenon. He knocked Ibrahim out in practice. Like, he's the guy who stepped down. He didn't want to fight. He has something, like, they could have done more with it. He could have been out there, making a video like, hey guys, mental health is like important, something like that. I don't know.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, like everything in this show, there's a million ways that it could have been better. But yeah, no, that's a good point though. Is that social media does not play a part when it certainly could have here. But moving a little bit as far as where we are right now, moving a little bit forward with it, we also find out that Boss survived his stabbing, but he's currently in a coma.
Did I miss that? Okay,
you must have,
great.
yeah.
Okay,
That was
I missed a lot here. I'm telling you,
dude. This show continuously doing the thing where they take small pieces of information and things that are not very important and drag them out into larger set pieces, and then major plot points like that they kind of just pepper in, like, to the point where you have to really be paying attention. Because I even have that in there where it's like that whole thing with when the Fat Funny Friend was recounting all of Ibrahim's history with the gym, the coma thing was just tagged in there amongst a bunch of other dialogue. So I'm like, if you weren't listening very actively, you could have immediately lost that very crucial piece of information.
So I would like to also note that in between the rant that the Fat Friend was having, the girlfriend gave him a hug. She was like, "It's okay," and I'm just letting you know it was a little too chummy, and that goes into one of these next notes that I have. So anyway, Fat Friend is like, Taylor, I had to let you know this. Like, you had to know, and it's like, after 3 months after Boss has been stabbed, or after how many years you've known him, like, that is crazy for you to say that. And then I wrote again, the show is genuinely going to make Taylor Batman.
Well, so yeah, so what I have for that note, that specific idea is that, Fat Funny Friend is certainly pushing that direction a little bit because like Taylor very wisely says, we should go to the police. That's the right thing to do. And Fat Funny Friend is like, how long a police investigation takes for this type of crime? And saying that, hey, it might be like we need to go out and do something about it. And I was like, to be fair, the UFC probably would take him with a rumored attempted murder charge if he fought good enough, talking about Ibrahim. But anyway,
I think it's very funny for the person that actually shows up in this show. We already spoiled it. Sorry, guys. John Jones does appear in this episode, but there's so many different, like, you could ask that guy how long a fucking domestic abuse charge takes to to get through.
Right.
It's just really funny that Taylor is just like, but he actually doesn't apparently know who he is. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Well, yeah. And so, I mean, that's the upshot of that is what they're trying to say is that, like, if we know that this guy is involved, or at least that's the implication that everyone is thinking, then we need to go do something about it, because in the meantime, if nothing happens and the police are investigating it, but it takes a long time for it to get investigated and find actual justice, in that time, Ibrahim might be advancing his career, end up in the UFC, and then this other person who's part of his team goes with him.
True. All right. And so then the next scene, he's basically made up his mind and he's going to go ahead and leave. And so the girlfriend is consolidating him, like, "Oh, are you sure you want to do this?" Like, she's definitely cool with it. I have in the notes, girlfriend is cool with it. She looks like she's gonna fuck the Fat Friend now. So I don't know.
I think you're reading a little bit much into the relationship between those two, but if that's what you saw from it,
season 2 was coming, he was gonna be jacked and she'd be with him.
That's a quality plot twist that the show probably would try to pull off. So I'm with you on that. But yeah, so I mean, we do leave off with them essentially thinking that vigilante justice might be the right way to go. Last thing I had with that before I get to the next scene was that I did think it was funny that Bro is suggesting vigilante justice when Taylor at least as we know up until this point, just fought in an illegal Swedish fight club and owes $7,000 to the mob. But anyway, so yes, next scene, you're right. Taylor's packing up. He needs a passport, so we know he's going overseas. And essentially, what we glean from this scene with him and the girlfriend is that he's going to train with John Jones's coach, and then also simultaneously somehow avenge Boss's attempted murder.
Yes, I did not catch that he said the John Jones thing right there. Again, I'm not. I was here, but I wasn't there. So
It's so hard to get every little detail of this show the way they present information. I swear, people.
So the next scene is where I was introduced. We in my mind we haven't got there yet. So the next scene we go to Mexico. We're headed to Mexico. We start off with some texting. He's texting his girl like, "Hey, blah 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 blah. I made it. I'll call you later, whatever." She's obviously don't give a fuck. She's with the fat friend. Then Taylor gets dropped off by a taxi, and this is where I saw, and this is where I thought it was like a decent like sneak peek, at least because the story goes that way. It's like they have a poster and it's like John Jones there, and I was like, oh, he's at like a John Jones like seminar training with him kind of thing. That's what I was getting from it. And then the coach walks up and he's like, hey, yo, like, Taylor, what's up? Like, I know you. Like, dude, me, you and Boss, we're chummy. Like, I know Boss. And he actually drops one of these lines, and it's actually crazy. I've always dreamed of the three of us training together. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Like, what are you dreaming about Taylor for? What are you talking about?
Yeah, yet another, like, boosting of this essential nobody on the amateurs, but they have to make it out like he's a somebody. It's this weird half and half dynamic that they have.
They were in the middle. They didn't want to be all the way out where he's like an unknown prospect, or they didn't want to be all the way. He's like he's a global, he's Peyton Talbot kind of deal,
Yeah. Well, it's like, but they kind of like make it out like he sort of is that to an extent. Like, it's so annoying the way that they present information with this. But so yes, I'm gonna back it up just a little bit though. So
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So he does end up in Mexico, and I don't recall them ever saying anything about Mexico specifically before he gets there. Like on the show, like, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to go to Mexico to train with John Jones's coach. It was just, we're going to go train with John Jones's coach. I would have thought that would have been in New Mexico, where John Jones lives and trains. But so I'm like, ends up in Mexico. John Jones is in New Mexico and trains there. This is because he's French, not because of his race. But I said, is he going to hop the border? I'm just saying that seemed like the implication, but that's not what happened. It's not what happened.
I genuinely think that's funny, because I have a lot of flags, but I know nothing about what this place looks like. So when he went to Mexico, I'm like, there's a new one out there, ain't there? Like, that's where he's going to go. Cause I know John Jones, New Mexico. That makes sense to me.
Right.
But I didn't add up that it wasn't the same one, so that's pretty funny. Maybe they just didn't know. Maybe they just got it wrong. But John Jones is in the show, so why didn't he?
And again, this is why I say all of this, because it's very random and strange the way that this stuff is presented. Because so like, the other point to that too is that, like, with the way that the current climate of everything is right now with immigration, yada yada, it kind of might not have been the least interesting idea if he had to like navigate his way into the country in some clandestine manner. But anyway, that did not happen. He's training in Mexico. Gyms are in Mexico. Fine.
You got to remember also, this is just a title card. They could have just added that in post, and they just put, it's Mexico. I mean, New Mexico. Don't put New Mexico. Just put Mexico. They'll know,
True.
Kind of
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I guess, with the cultural makeup of that region, between the border there, somewhat would make sense on either side, I guess.
Yeah.
But so they're in Mexico. The coach is Six Gun Gibson, who is John Jones's striking coach, and Gibson is on the poster, as you mentioned. And I was like, why is John's coach randomly training in Mexico? Was my question. So I'm like, when we end up finding John Jones, which we'll talk about in a little bit, it's even more strange for reasons that we'll get to. But so again, dynamics are very weird with this, but John's coach is training in Mexico at random and training there long enough that he would be on a poster. Yeah. So, and then I did say that it was high quality acting from Gibson, because
brother, he
was awful. He was terrible.
Holy shit. I'm glad that he's actually somebody, and they're pretty good about getting actual coaches in this. But yeah, that was going to be one of my notes. I didn't put it in the notes because I remember how bad it was. It was, yeah.
Hey, Taylor, nice to meet you. You know, it's that
Yeah,
guy. It was
yeah.
like that like, you know, determined acting, whatever. So anyway, so yes, so the dynamic again, strange. He just happens to be in Mexico training people down there. He's on a poster because my whole thing was, and you know, we do find out that like Boss did set it up with him specifically, the coach that is. But like when I saw him on the poster, I was like, this isn't like he got taken like that he was going to train with him. It was like there's a seminar going on and you
Yes,
can go
that's
take
how
it.
I got it. That's
Right.
how I read into it, and the fact that John isn't even there makes it even more believable. It's like,
Right.
well, yeah, he's obviously not going to that fucking seminar. Like, just have the striking coach go.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so now we get to the point where he is at this it's a UFC gym down there in Mexico where this is all taking place, and Taylor is now taking classes, taking
Yes,
instruction
yes,
at the gym.
I said exactly that. They get working in drills immediately,
Right.
and then in true fashion, Taylor starts off absolutely horrible. The first thing you see is him getting caught in a standing guillotine, so he fucking sucks. Then I put he's losing to everyone, and then Taylor gets mad, and I put Taylor's mad. He still hasn't developed skills, blames jet lag, and I said, but he's probably still just got CTE. Let's see what else I have. Oh, yeah, and that was a horrible scene from him. He's like, "I'll come." You know, coach is like, "You got to come back in tomorrow. You know, show the will, be ready to get back on the horse if that's really what's up." And Taylor's like, "I just fucking suck." You're like,
I
"Oh,
just
bro."
said Taylor getting his ass kicked in training yet again. Good to see some things never changed.
Yeah, the show definitely has some twists and turns, but Taylor being absolutely trash in practice and then stunningly amazing in the cage doesn't make
Cross
any sense. But you know,
across the
it's
board, but always but a tried and true element that
yes,
we've come
yes.
to expect at this
Yes,
point.
exactly. So that was the end of the first training scene. It
Well,
wasn't
so
necessarily a montage, but go ahead.
yeah, but so then so you're right though. He you know he gets angry, he punches the ground, whatever, and apologizes to Six Gun, and I did like that. You know, Boss, as we know now, is not in the picture. So Six Gun Gibson doing the same knowing stare that Boss used to do as Taylor walks away. I was like, okay, the spiritual torch is being passed at least. Thank
Yes.
God for that, right?
Yeah, no, that is hilarious. Yeah, no, the fact that this man's name is Six Gun. I mean, who gave him that name? Probably mom, but I don't know. Crazy enough.
Yeah,
So after that scene, Taylor is leaving voice memos for his girlfriend and for his fat friend. And what's really funny to know is that that sounds like he don't give a shit when he's talking to his girlfriend. He's like, "Hey, I made it. Call you later." He talks to the fat friend, "Dude, I fucking got this fucking awesome thing, and like, dude, I can't wait to figure it out. Like, I'm fucking Batman." You know, like he was going nuts for the friend, and that was just really funny. I
yeah.
also thought was really key to note here the way they had it angled, right? So you're looking at him, and it looks like he's on the street, standing up against a street light, and then they zoom out, and he's on a fucking rooftop
He's
of
on
the
the roof.
gym.
Yes, he's doing the rooftop dealy. Actually, I think he was on the roof of his hotel because I think they had the hotel like logo in the back or whatever.
I think later he's on a different roof later that
Oh,
says the
multiple roofs.
gym name. Yeah, yeah, it's one of them says the gym name on it. Like,
Good
I'm pretty
lord.
sure. I'm pretty sure.
So even that's confusing. Amazing that the show can you know you think one rooftop is enough. No, they got to give you two and make it confusing. But so yes, no, I also
Actu
had that. Yeah, no, yeah.
Actually, no, I would like to know
Mhm.
the next scene that I'm seeing, you were probably right. This is the hotel roof because of the next scenes that I have notes about. So continue. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Okay, so he is on the phone. He's calling back to home. You know, everything's going good. Whatever. Telling everybody back home how things
Probably
are
using
going.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, could have been doing some voice memos there. And at one point, he said, "You know, I'm doing this for Coach. You know, this the whole thing is that he's at this training, continuing on what Coach wanted him to do." And my response to that was, "What? Practicing poorly?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway,
Coach
single
wanted you to go fuck yourself, Taylor. Like literally.
many times, and then he himself wants to anyway. Okay,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so yeah, so you know, single teardrop on the rooftop. You know, he's got the single tear going, so obviously he's still conflicted. And then he's getting he's in the bed in the hotel at that point, and he's having the horror movie flashes of the stabbing incident that happens, and then just calmly wakes up like nothing happened.
That's what I wanted to know. He's having nightmares about Boss, yes. He's in a shitty hotel bed when he wakes up, so I'd be frustrated. Then he goes to the bathroom. Please tell me you noticed what is in the bathroom.
The water dispenser.
Dude, there was two toilets side by side.
Oh no, I
There's
didn't see
no
that.
barrier. It's like the hand holding system. Like
Oh,
that is
I did
crazy,
not even
bro.
see that. That's funny. No, what I
Yes.
saw was the water dispenser, but it's the one that you see at the bar where it's like the little blue handle and you can like put the cup up to it and it pushes back and the water comes out. Like, you know what I'm talking about? That shit was
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
I
No,
was like,
dude.
this shit is different in Mexican hotels. Yeah, I was like, damn, Mexican hotel has the water dispenser from every bar that I've ever worked at. That's interesting. But no,
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't notice the toilets. That's funny
dude,
though.
the side by side so he's using the one on the right and there's just one on the left, I guess, for the misses, you know?
Yeah,
I
the
mean, people
couple's
gotta
toilet.
yeah. So he says, "Can we talk about Coach?" This is the next scene where I don't
Yeah,
remember who he's
back at the
asking this
gym.
about. Yes, is he
He's
talking
back at the gym
to
with with Six Gun Taylor,
okay, okay,
Six
so he
Gun
wants to
Gibson.
talk about Coach, and then he basically says, "I apologize, but I'm just not good enough. I suck. I quit again." And and Six Gun with his great acting, "Okay, sorry to hear that."
Yeah, which honestly I thought was actually pretty okay in the moment because Six Gun, I mean, oh, he
I
knows him
mean, yeah, who
from
right, who
Boss,
gives a
but like,
fuck?
yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But my note to this in big, bold capital letters is how many fucking times is this dude going to quit? Bro, if it's like that, just fucking quit already.
Yeah, he does not seem like he likes this as like his career. And you know, I get they're trying to build like an underdog, like oh he always gets back up, but like he is literally thrown in the white towel. Like he's not gotten up so many times.
Think about this point at where we are now. He has walked away from a fight being
Title fight.
cage side for the fight. Yeah, he walked away from it being backstage ready to walk out. Then he goes and does this underground fighting deal, which is like, I guess, boosts his confidence, but now he's getting even more conflicted off of that. And now he is in training with, you know, to many people, of course, presumably the greatest fighter of all time's coach, and still wants to quit.
Mhm.
So to me, that's like, bro, this is not an underdog story the same way that like some dogged dude who gets, you know, he's gotten his ass kicked, but he just keeps fighting on. This is a dude who is internally conflicted, which to me is like, he doesn't have, you're not about that life if the
Mhm.
way that they're portraying this.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. And now that I say it, you know, Six Gun the way that he said it, I mean, honestly, yeah, who gives a shit? He's just another run of the mill guy. Like he's made it seem like he knows Taylor a little bit more, but like at the end of the day, he doesn't. Like it's just another guy at the gym that he's training at a seminar, you know, whatever you want to say.
And really, like, if you look at it, like, again, with the logic of this show, it's hard to like really discern like how they want you to perceive it. But if you look at it from like the angle that like we would like logically look at it, like all Taylor is really is a dude who had a viral clip and went to a split draw.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, quit. Fine. What the
Yeah.
fuck do I care? You're not some like hot pros. I mean, granted, he did go through the tournament. I guess maybe the flying knee might have been impressive. Whatever. This dude. My point is that this dude does not have highlights like that to be like, bro, please stay.
Yeah, it's also another thing is like Taylor really thought a lot of himself to think coach should care that he's leaving. Like if you're just gonna quit, like just don't show the fuck back up, dude. Like what are you going to talk to him for with all your gear and shit? Like go get it. But anyway. So coach is like, Taylor says bye, and coach says, wait a second, I'll get you a driver.
That's right. I'm gonna
Uh,
get you somebody to take you to the airport.
yep. And so coach goes and he, you know, he obviously looks over his shoulder, starts to make his call, right? And
That's
you know,
right.
he makes his call. And let's see the next scene. Okay, yeah. Taylor is walking outside to his Uber XL. I don't know. Yep.
The super
This
night. That was like a
yep.
Yukon or some shit. That was a big
Yep.
ass truck.
Yep. And obviously, who is sitting in it other than John Jones? And I want to make a point. I said John Jones is here in a car. What are the odds he drives and injures someone? Just
Yeah.
like
Same. Yeah. No. Yeah. Surprised John Jones is in the car. Thankfully, not driving. That's what
I
I
would
said.
I would like to also note is you're not supposed to know this is John Jones. That's the way the story sets it up. You're supposed to just think this is a random bald black guy with a beard that's just talking to you. That is
Yeah.
just giving you a speech. Like I even said John Jones speech, right? You know, because he talks from and he has the same speech 7 times in a row right here. This is one of the longest sets of dialogue that you'll ever see from somebody who has never acted in his life. Go ahead. Sorry,
Oh,
you had
oh,
something to
so
say?
no, no, I wanted you to set up as much as you want because
Oh,
this is getting into what to now. Granted, I am a hater. You know,
yes.
I don't like John Jones. I think he's a terrible person. I don't like that he has the status that he has in this sport because of what a terrible person I find him to be. Okay, that aside, if you even put those things aside, the amount of glaze that we are going to see
Yes.
heaped on John Jones, not only by himself but by the show and the show's writers, is insufferable that we're coming into. But just to touch on your last point that you made about us not supposedly not knowing that this is John Jones, you get the profile where you instantly know that it's John Jones just off of that, if you're like if you know what he looks like. But then him talking, John Jones has the most recognizable voice on the planet, and this kid who's supposed to be a huge fan didn't recognize him off of
Yes.
that. I was
Yes.
like, this is so ridiculous that they're trying to sell this concept, but okay.
Yeah, so John Jones has his speech. He, talks about how he's the greatest, and he's had some of these trials and tribulations that he's come back from. But if you're ready, he'll show you what's up. Let me take you to a better gym.
Yeah.
And this is where Taylor looks at him. Who are you?
Yeah, right. Excuse me, sir. Who are you?
Yep. And then you get the me.
Dun,
Well, I'm
dun,
John
dun.
Jones. And he turns around, and then Taylor obviously looks at him, and he's still just like, who's John Jones? I know GSP. I know GSP, dude. I don't know John Jones.
You didn't think you knew who John Jones was?
I think he was still baffled. He's like, John Jones. I'm like, the seminar guy? Really? No, I'm looking at it now.
He was a little stunned, but yeah, I did think it was. First of all, I do want to say credit where credit is due. I actually thought John's acting was not half bad. I want to say that.
Better than his fucking coach. Maybe he needs to give his coach some acting.
For sure. But yes, I did think it was hilarious because, as I had mentioned, this first round of training was taking place at a UFC branded gym. But John Jones is like, fuck that. We're going to a better, more special gym than that one.
Yes.
So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, so we're going to go but you got to want it, man. I was like, bro, he's quit 5 times. He does not want it. But anyway.
Yeah. So he goes, I heard your story. I can help you. You gotta want it, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's like, so what's it gonna be? And then I wrote in quotations, he retires. That was
would have been the right way for this thing to go. Yeah, that would have been fantastic. And yeah. And then of course we got that from the actual John Jones. But right. But so
yes, they go to the better gym. They go to the better gym.
And John Jones is gonna get Taylor's Eye of the Tiger back.
No, that's a separate speech. We'll talk about that here in a second. Because so we walk into the gym. And obviously you get a sense of who's in this gym. You got to talk about the vibes, right?
Oh yeah.
If you guys are fans, you should know who Daniel Rodriguez is. He did not appear in this show, but his doppelganger was there 17 times. If that gives you a sense of what this place looked like.
It is a gym full of tattooed, rough
Mexican
and tumble
guys.
Mexican dudes. That is absolutely correct. And
it's only Mexicans too.
Oh yeah, well sure, yeah, because this is like the real gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not the UFC. That's the that's like the commercial gym. This is like the in the warehouse kind of gym. And
specifically the people that can't train other places. That's the way John's framing. It's like these guys don't have anything else. Like they come here.
Exactly. These guys are fighting for their lives here, kind of thing. Yes, exactly. Most definitely that. So it's setting up that this is like the real gritty reality of the fight world. And yes, it is a lot of very, very tough looking Mexican guys, and then Taylor.
Yes.
And John Jones again. Let's take one more step back again. So we've got John Jones's coaching at the UFC gym. Why is John Jones at this random gym in Mexico? Why?
Because he takes drugs, dude.
Well, good point. Good point.
Anyway, explain it. So we're walking through the gym. John Jones is like, "Are you ready?" And Taylor's like, whatever. And I also say prison gym, rats gym. And then John Jones says, "Look around. Have you ever seen Rocky?" And bro hits him with the line. And as a true fight fan, listen, I've seen Rocky. It's a good experience that you obviously should watch if you are a fight fan. Just for the yes. This dude said no, just Creed. And what's funny is Creed is literally like it is a sequel, yes, but it also still has the characters from the original. So did you not understand that they have pictures in the movie from the other movies? Like they have flashbacks from the other fucking movies. Like anyway.
Yeah, they just it was a dumb way for them to throw in that, or for John to be able to say, "Oh, you're a young buck," kind of thing. It's just like, why? It was just an odd little detail for no reason. But then we got the Eye of the Tiger element out of it, which is like, again, you want to talk more on the fucking nose shit with this show.
He says about 6 times too. He says Eye of the Tiger so many times. What's also key to note is, you got to find the Eye of the Tiger again. And Taylor looks at him and says, "Not sure I've ever had that look." Like, dude, what are you like, do you have any confidence in yourself, like, at all? Like, I just don't ever think I've ever been confident, you know? I just suck, like, to be honest with you, is probably what he should have said. But
Right.
anyway, John Jones just says, "Come with me again." And then they just keep walking for another John Jones glaze spiel, and, like,
Brother.
it is oh my god, I said John Jones is just projecting himself now. I don't care, he's done the same speech 3 times. And he basically says, I've hit women with cars. I've hit my wife. I've done drugs, but we all saw how that went down and I came back. There's always a downfall
Well,
and then
see,
a
that's
comeback.
that's the funny part is that so John he says yeah I've been in situations that I didn't even think I was going to be able to come back from. It's like, do you want to elaborate on what those situations were, John? Because there are major plot points in this show where you did the same thing to the mother of your children that Ibrahim did to his girl,
Yeah.
and that at the time at least we believe that the mob did to Taylor's mom. So I'm like
Yes.
the watching John Jones glaze himself for overcoming his hardships in this show made me fucking sick. And by proxy, the show's writers made me fucking sick with this. I mean,
It's
anyway,
even it listen, no, it's even more funny when you think about it. So John Jones is in a show where he's playing himself and the character is supposed to be worse than John Jones. So in that scenario, John Jones gets to talk down on Taylor that he's better than him because that's the character. Oh, he's such a piece of shit. He don't help his mom. He's had such these hardships. But in the character's eyes, he's worse than John Jones because John Jones, he's the greatest fighter of all time. Even Taylor says it in the fucking scene after. It's like it's so fucking funny. Like the writers really, man, they bent themselves over for John Jones in this. It's so for
brother.
one episode. I hope they paid him well because
Oh my
man,
god. Well, they paid him in the writing for sure. I mean, as far as he could have done it for free just to have all of the adulation rained onto him. But yeah, so John Jones at one point, Taylor's like, yeah, I think it might just be over for me, kind of thing. And then John's like, it doesn't have to be over. And I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, unless you're fighting Tom Aspinall next. But anyway.
Yeah, no. Dude, this is just like this is the like fourth or fifth time in this episode alone where Taylor is questioned. Like he's basically said, like, I don't want to do it. I don't have the eye of the tiger. I've never had it. I don't think this is for me. Take me to the airport. Any of these other things. Like somebody just needs to say, all right, bye, Taylor. Go. Just
Right.
like why is John Jones taking him under his wing right now? Because the next scene is even more indicative of that. It's really funny too. Going into the next scene, John Jones says, all right, everybody spar with Taylor.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, I loved that. The entire gym is gathered around the cage at this point. They got an octagon in there, and and they're all just watching. And now it has become the entire gym stops what they're doing because now it's Taylor's time to shine,
Yes.
and the whole gym is watching him. And John says, "All right, we're gonna have 4 different sparring partners in 4 different rounds, all against Taylor, but it's more like shifts within a single
Yes.
round."
Because they did the same 2 guys for the first round.
Okay, yeah,
So the second they might do back and forth. But either
yeah.
way, you don't get to the second, quote unquote, second round. Either way, because Taylor immediately starts winning. He just starts beating
Well,
everybody in this gym.
so yeah, leading into that, John's this was funny before it gets to that point. John says, "I expect you to fight." He's like doing like the intro of them all starting to spar, and he's like, "I expect you to fight hard, and I expect you to fight smart." And I was like, noticeably absent is the word clean in all of that.
Yes.
So that was kind of funny. But so yeah, a pep talk and a sparring session with John Jones as the ringleader. Suddenly Taylor is back and he has amazing technique. All of a sudden it has developed. John Jones rubbed off on Taylor throughout just talking to him, apparently.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. This
He
was
nearly kills the last guy that he's going up against.
Yes, they're making Taylor look good for once. John Jones says, "There it is. That's the eye of the tiger." That was a very funny point. Like, dude, shut
Yep.
the fuck up. And then we go to John Jones. I think it's a little montage in between. John Jones is teaching him the little elbow combinations, and he's teaching him how to do his moves. And then we're back to sparring. And then I said, finally, Taylor isn't bad, but I don't care because it's not earned. He literally just magically is good whenever the story needs him to be. He's never grown. He sucks every other time you don't need him to.
That's a fantastic point in general,
Yeah.
though, is that the show selectively makes him good or bad depending on the situation that they want to portray at the time. The progression is terrible. It's not an evolution. So you're exactly right. That's a fantastic point that it's not earned because it's just at random decided to either be turned on or turned off given
Yes.
the situation.
Yes, absolutely. So then this scene ends, and it goes to John Jones watching footage of Taylor. Was it the Ibrahim fight,
I think it was
or
the first one. I think it was
yes,
the initial. Oh
yes.
yeah, yeah, the split draw fight, I
Yes.
believe. Yeah,
So he's watching that. Taylor's having a late session, and John breaks it. All right, that's good for today, Taylor. I also want to note Taylor takes his gloves off, didn't have his hands wrapped. He's going to be feeling this. He's going to be
yeah,
feeling that tomorrow. But
fair
cool.
point.
And then John says, we got a lot more work to do. And then Taylor walks in the other room. This is hilarious. He walks over in the other room, and there's a bench there. Obviously, there's a golden light ray shining down on it, basically because John Jones left him a gift, left him a little gifty, left him a pair of gloves with a note like it was left in a lunch pail by a wife that says, "Here, Pookie Bear, you're gonna use these when you get to your fucking big fight, and I can't wait to see you in them." And it was very adorable.
Oh yeah, well, and before that, like as he's walking away to find those gloves, John does that little smile and look to the ground as if I see myself in him. I was like,
Oh
oh
goodness.
god, this is so fucking ass, bro. And also, I had in the notes too, because again, this is all happening. I'm taking him in real time. I was like, will John be like GSP and disappear into the ether? Well, we'll have that addressed a little bit later on, at least as far as GSP is concerned.
Okay, so the next scene. Are you ready to see how instantly this show drops on a dime?
Yeah.
So the next scene, it's funny because I believe Taylor's on a rooftop he's having a call or something, and then there's overarching narration where it says battle for the belt, and you're like, well, what the fuck, where is he coming from? Taylor's on a roof right now, and it's back, and then now they're back to fighting Ibrahim. Taylor's just doing the autograph signing for the fights right now. He's just he's just there, he's ready to go. John Jones has got him where he needs to be, and also I'd like to note he doesn't even have his shorts yet, so there's just something key to know.
Yeah, and again, it's the same kind of. It goes with the same point that we made earlier about the show not presenting information in a logical progression, because, like what we talked about with. What is the level of star that Taylor is actually at? Because he's an amateur fighter still, or was at least at the time. I mean, I guess at this point we got to assume that these are pro fights. I guess, but so he's fighting for a belt in this Eris promotion in France, and he's signing autographs, he's signing posters and stuff. It's like, is he that famous that he should be doing that, or is he not famous enough? Like, anyway, it's like it's hard to understand what level of star we should be considering him at.
It's not even just that. It is also key to note that at the beginning of the episode, we had our one key time jump. And then at this point, we don't know if John Jones's camp has led to 7 wins after, or if he has just never attempted to fight again until he got a title shot. We don't know what the circumstances are.
Exactly.
He could have just done magic. Like this could be the next day. He could have just called France, like, "Hey, I'm coming for the belt." Like,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yes, another time warp that is nebulous as to how much it is.
Yeah.
How much time has elapsed. That is.
So yes.
I also had in the notes too, and this is strictly a note for the dub, because we've been talking about the quality of the dub occasionally on the reviews. The dude who is getting his poster signed by Taylor is a young black dude with the dubbed voice of a 60-year-old white guy from Louisiana. If you go
Okay.
back and listen to this, trust me, the point is that the voice and the actor are nothing alike. It is very noticeable, or at least was for me.
Okay, that's pretty good. I'm actually, because the script probably said "old man," and at the day they just probably said, "All right, go ahead, you do it, you do it." That's actually
Yeah,
pretty funny.
that
But
did not line up, but
but
yeah, but so yeah, we're getting custom shorts now.
yes, no, well, okay. So autograph signings happening. There's face off in 10 minutes. Taylor says, "I don't even have my shorts yet." Because the dude never even brought me my shorts. He brings in custom shorts for Taylor because everybody just gets custom shorts now. I also want to note, while the autograph is happening, sorry, we jumped into custom shorts. The fat friend shows up with a GSP shirt on,
Yes.
and he brings Taylor 2 VIP tickets for his mother. He says, "I got them for you. They're yours. I got my ways," which is honestly interesting that the fat friend got the tickets and Taylor couldn't. Isn't that?
That's good pickup on that, because I didn't have that in the notes, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, for some reason the fat friend has to get the tickets, and the dude who's fighting in the title fight wasn't able
He's
to get them
Ned,
for
dude. I'm
himself.
telling you, he just
Yeah,
knows how to get shit. So,
yeah, for
yes.
sure.
So he comes in. I said gets tickets for mom who doesn't care. Key. We'll get back into that. And then face off in 10 minutes, we get custom shorts. Then we find out the face off is canceled
No
because
face off.
no face off. Ibrahim doesn't want to. No, he's cool. And then you
He's
find
too
out,
much of a killer to face off with him.
yes. And then this is where you actually see, I don't know if they mentioned it before where this was happening, but then you see in the background of a video is taking place of Ibrahim talking, before the fights, and there's UFC Fight Pass, and there's a contract on the line. That's what is on the line here, a UFC contract on UFC Fight Pass, whatever that's key to note. That's where we find that out. And then Ibrahim
Well,
cancels the face.
no, we find out that there's going to be a UFC scout there. I don't think that they actually like said that it's like this is for a contract specifically.
This right here, Ibrahim was saying it. In the background, you could see UFC. That's why I noted UFC Fight Pass, because it was on like the little background.
Gotcha. Okay,
Ibrahim was like, I'm gonna get the contract. I'm gonna be the winner.
Gotcha. Okay.
And he's like, I'm not gonna do the face off. So he basically he calls off the face off because Ibrahim won't be able to hold himself back, is what he says.
Which is hilarious, even because Taylor was the one that pushed Ibrahim in the other face off.
Yes, when he was supposed to just not do anything, he was supposed to sit back, and he immediately jumped in. Yes,
exactly. Yes, don't play into his game. Immediately played into his game.
So they agree, no face off, and then they break. They see y'all at training 9 p.m. Good deal. And then anything else on that scene, because the next scene's pretty funny, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that the next is talking about when he calls his mom.
Yes.
Okay, then yeah, that's where I'm at too then.
Okay, this one, so Taylor calls his mom. She doesn't answer. He tells her that he's got VIP tickets. This is where I noted VIP tickets are nuts. Like, she didn't just get regular seats. Like, she's damn near in his corner.
Cage side, cage side.
And then he walks into a very nice hotel. This one was really nice looking. There was also a point where he walks up to the mirror, and there's the Fight Pass poster of Ibrahim taped to the window, and he looks in the mirror, so the camera's like looking at it like if they're doing the face off type of thing. And the only thing that I thought about is when Shamil Ghaziv did that to Rosenstrike on Twitter. Like, it's oh my goodness. Like, so he had the poster where he was standing on one side, and then it was Rosenstrike, and he stood on the other side. He was like, I'm always watching you. It was really funny.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so mom texts back, and this is key to note for what Taylor says later. Mom texts back, and I also said when she could have answered probably, but we know she doesn't care. Key to note. Right. And then that's the last thing I have on that scene. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just said Taylor calls mom. She has tickets to the show now. Wonder how that's gonna go, and so we will find out how that goes a little bit later on. But yeah, Taylor is next up after that. The little mirror dealie there in the hotel room. Taylor is preparing for the fight, and untrustworthy friend bro is just backstage juicing out in the open yet again, popping pills. This dude is addicted to the juice.
Yeah. And Taylor looks over at him, and he's like, hey, can you not do that?
Could you not be juicing while I'm trying to train for a title fight, please?
And what the Roid friend says in retaliation is absolutely epic. He's like, you gotta fight, not me. Like, fuck, I'm not fighting. Like, fuck, I haven't fought a day in my life, apparently. We haven't even seen him compete, I don't think.
I don't think that we've ever seen him do
his physique,
for
other than roids.
Yeah, well, that too, of course. Him getting pissed off and being an asshole. But like, my whole thing is that like, for the amount of roids that this dude is doing, he should be the most jacked dude on the planet.
Right. So, and then so he's doing roids out in the open. And then Taylor's, doing some training, and then we get the shot, right? Taylor's, yeah, exactly. The mist appears, the doves fly, and obviously we get that accent. Are you happy to see me? Something like that. That was a pretty good one, I thought. GSP is there, standing in the background, and Fat Friend sees him.
Yeah, well, to be fair, everybody goes into holy shit mode, but Funny Fat Friend it's above and beyond.
Yes, Funny Fat Friend takes a look at GSP, looks down at his shirt, looks up at GSP, realizes this is his moment, right? GSP finally says, I'm going to quarter him. Fat Friend runs over and hugs GSP. GSP gives him the look like, okay, buddy, okay. Right. But then what is also funny is the Fat Friend goes, I love you. Yeah. And then GSP is like, I love you too.
That I actually thought was a genuinely funny moment. I did appreciate that. I think I got a laugh out of me.
Yes, no, that was definitely so funny.
I love you too.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I actually don't remember this part, but I want to let's see. Royd friend says mom didn't get the tickets. So this
Yes,
is the
so
next scene, obviously,
right.
but like I
Well,
don't
it's like a
remember.
continuation of that. So yeah, well, no, no, you're right. That is the next scene.
Yes.
They're backstage in the dressing room.
Yes.
And so yeah, and he's doing like some minor pad work, I think, even at that point, or he might even
Hmm.
just be sitting there. But Taylor's back there, and then Royd friend comes in and says, "Mom didn't pick up the tickets," and suddenly, mom's safety is very important.
Dude, and this is where it absolutely gets hilarious because Taylor starts freaking out. I
Yeah,
haven't heard from my mom all day, is what he says. That's a lie. She texted you back. She literally texted you back. You can, whatever, you can freak out if you want. He also doesn't even know anything's wrong. Like, he literally does it. Like, there could be nothing wrong, and he's about to once again blow the opportunity of his lifetime because what he then says, give me your keys. I need your bike. Give me your keys. I'm going to go and make sure my mom is safe. And in
right.
my mind, it's like the police exist. Two, where's that social media aspect? You could say, hey, somebody go to my mom's house and check on her. She lives up, blah, blah, like that could be another aspect where he, uses his out, the community, whatever you want to say. But like, no, in his mind, it is, I will be back before the fight. I got 2 hours. I'm going to ride a motorcycle as fast as I can across the city. Like Batman, by the way, we said this at the beginning, and it is coming true without calling the police because he is the hero here. And as the girlfriend, I believe the girl comes in, says something like, "What are you gonna do if there's like 15 guys there?" And
Right.
Taylor
Yeah.
literally just like shrugs his shoulder. He's like, I don't fucking know. I just fucking show up. Like,
I have to know. I have to know
yeah,
what's going on,
right,
you know?
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah,
So,
so but
yeah,
this is the thing too, is another point of this is, again, like I said, suddenly her safety is very important. This dude went to freaking Canada. Like, he went across the ocean already. He went to Mexico. Are we to believe that he was checking in with his shitty mom all of those times? Like, he has been out of touch with her. Like, when he went over to Sweden, they intentionally turned the phone off. Yeah, I mean,
when
like,
you point it out like this, some of the things she says maybe make a little more sense, but we'll get into how out of pocket she is. But if you make it like maybe now he cares. Like, I mean, in that context, I was like, okay, maybe she does have a point, but like she kind of didn't even in the slightest. But like, yeah, why would he care now out of all
well,
the
it's not
point
even that
out of
it's
all the times?
well, it's not even that. I mean, he always has cared in the show about her, like, even though he
Yes.
probably she doesn't deserve it, but like he's always cared. But like now it's like this little gap of her not being at the show, like like she has not given us any reason to believe that she has changed her the
Hmm.
way that she acts, the mother. So like
Well,
that's the whole thing, is that it's like it could have just been like, damn, she didn't show up. That's crazy. But it's like,
yeah,
no, no, I got to find out where the fuck
yeah,
she is. Like, this is really important
yeah.
now. And like you said, I said that Royd friend was actually a somewhat decent friend by lending him his bike. And then Taylor goes tear-assing through the streets of France on this motorbike. He is so fast on that thing.
That's what I said. Batman time. He can ride motorcycle fast. New skill unlocked. Yeah.
Serious, dude. Yeah. And he was, I mean, like, he's weaving in and out of
Good camera
traffic.
work too, to be honest.
True.
They
Yeah.
they they
Decent
had it
tracking.
going. I also said Taylor doesn't even know something's wrong. So, and he's doing all of this. Like,
Right. With
so
two
he pull
hours before the fight, like you said.
2 hours
Yeah.
before the fight. So he pulls up, walks into the house, and when you see this house, it is people that are moving. You could clearly see that they are leaving this building. They are all boxed up. They have dollies. They have, whatever they need to leave. That is what is in the parameters of what Taylor sees when he walks in.
Right.
And then he hits. This is an iconic line. So what's the deal? And
Yeah.
it's dude, do you not fucking know what context clues are? Like, they're literally leaving. So he walks in and sees his mom, and he's like, "What's the deal?" And she's like, "Fucker, are you stupid?" Like, she dead ass hit him with the same thing that I would have. Like,
Well,
are you
no, no,
dumb?
she so he says that. He's like, what's going on? Then he sees a like a travel brochure, which I thought was kind of funny because it's like, I guess you have a travel brochure for the place that you're obviously moving to, but so they're packing up and they're hightailing it to Majorca, and so he's like, yeah, what's going on? And she's like, I'll tell you everything, and then proceeds to let him figure it out all on his own through the context clues. Finally, he's like,
Yes.
you're packed up. What's
Yeah.
like he starts just like
Yes.
saying it out loud, and she's just like letting him kind of figure it out.
So
And shitty
what is
boyfriend is
happening?
also just watching, you know?
Yes, yes, shitty boyfriend is just posted up with his arm on a box, like ready to fucking go. Like we're packed. Like are you done, guys? And so mom is obviously letting him piece it together. Mom and BF, we're gonna leave. Like he literally says, so y'all were gonna leave while I was at the fight? Like, it's like, yeah, duh. Like
Right.
I said he's an idiot for not catching on. Like that's literally what they were doing. Like you don't just
Well, I mean, I think it was more like that he couldn't believe it, I guess,
I
is what
mean,
the
I agree.
implication was, but, you know.
I agree. I said decent plot point, didn't expect this
Right.
because what goes on now is mom goes in to describe the scenario where she tricked Taylor into believing that she was getting abused by mobsters for a debt that was unpaid when in reality she had her shitty boyfriend punch her in the face to make it as believable, and this is, and I quote, to make it as believable as possible, because then she goes on to have a whole rant of how shit this dude is, how he doesn't fucking do anything. Those little bills you dropped off, you didn't do shit. 30K you wouldn't have got it if we didn't push you. We faked the whole thing. What, like, dude, crazy. Oh, she even drops, aren't you ashamed of yourself? I was embarrassed by my kid. You are nothing but trouble. Think I'm a bad mother. I don't care. You are a bad son.
Yeah, she lays it so fucking thick on here with her hatred of her son. It was like, it was wild. I had in capital letters, "You didn't get good grades."
Yeah,
I was
literally,
like,
literally, like, oh my
but
goodness.
yeah, no, you're exactly right. That was the revelation here, which was, like you said, pretty decent twist based on all of the crazy twist turns that we've had here. This was among the more decent one, but still kind of like, if you break it down, still a little bit crazy. Is that, yes, the shitty boyfriend beat up the mother to trick Taylor into thinking she had been beaten up by the bad guys so that he would fight so that they could take his 30 grand. That
Yeah,
it's, yeah, that was an interesting way to accomplish that, especially also for the fact that makeup exists. But no, it has to
yes.
be that believable.
Yes, and to also notice, she's not broke. They are not broke. They even said, "We have money, we just couldn't give it to you.
They were saving money.
We were saving money, but we also needed you to get our shit together for us. Go get us 30 grand because you obviously weren't going to do it. We had to force you to do it." And then Taylor, after he gets the news that, the boyfriend beat up the mom, he turns to the boyfriend and he looks at her, and the boyfriend just hits him with the, shit, I mean, she told me, and then she obviously backs him. I told him to do it, and it's
Right.
like what in what world is this like? And see, this is where I wanted to talk about earlier. You have the Ibrahim domestic abuse situation, and then you have this sort of domestic abuse situation where it's false narratives and faulty situations.
Mm.
It's like, where did the writers and the directors, the producers, like, where was where did you want the message to go at the end of this? Like, if you were trying to make a story about, this is, people in this sport, they have crazy lives, and sometimes people get wrapped up in a lot of different assault situations or whatever. What is the outcome you wanted people to leave in their mind? Like, because there's
Well,
nothing good here.
I think that the implication is that we're supposed to. I mean, like, we've already known this, which is why it's not really a great one. But the implication is that, like, the mother is that bad a person. But
Mhm.
we already knew that she was kind of a dirtbag. But now it's like, damn, I didn't realize she was that big a dirtbag. That's crazy that she's that big a dirtbag, because
Mhm.
she'd go through something like that extreme to essentially defraud her son. That's the only takeaway that I think you really can draw from that.
I would like to also note, this is crazy for what's happening, but I think what happens later is going to be even so much better to talk about. There's a little tidbit for the chat right there. But yes, this one is nuts. The mom is horrible. See, my parenting skills worked is another one she dropped right at the end there, and I thought, bravo, you are very good at what you do.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
mean, laying it on, but before he
yes, go ahead.
he ends up getting out of there. I mean, that's what we're kind of getting
Well,
to the
she
point that
says,
point, right?
"Leave. Don't you have a fight?"
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that you and your boxing. I thought that was pretty funny too. But yeah, so yeah, she's like, yeah, I mean, go. We're leaving. You leave too. And
yeah,
then as he's leaving, he has a little bit of a stare down with the shitty boyfriend. And I was like, what does shitty boyfriend care, bro? He's banging your mom and running away with your 30 grand. He won.
Yeah,
Like,
literally.
he let you step to the side with a big old smile on his face. He kind of did what he needed to do, and you're not going to
Yeah.
do shit. So
Yes, yeah, that is absolutely nuts, and that one is very funny because the scene just abruptly ends, and I think what is key to note is he just makes it back. He just makes it back to the fight. No issue, no time constraint, no traffic, no police chase because he's speeding, no wreck, no flat tire, like anything that you could think to make the story okay. He drove away for 2 hours, make it interesting on the way back because that's the whole point of why you did it. If you're gonna make the whole situation just a phone, just not a phone call, but a conversation when he got there, just so he can drive back safely with no other issues, why did you tell us there was 2 hours? Like you could have just not set a time constraint at all.
yeah, I mean, because he got back with time to spare. He was back there shadow boxing,
Yeah,
listening to Meek Mill and Tory Lanez.
that's exactly what I said. He made it back, no issues, shadow boxing before the fight, gloves on, pad work, main event. Like that's literally all that's what happened, real quick. Then the next scene, they're in the cage. They don't
It's
even have a
fight time.
walkout this time, and I
No,
think it's great because they had a lot more milking that they had to do because it was a 5 round title fight, of course. But they still do a lot of milking in this episode. But either way, we get back into the cage. It's the title fight. We're doing the intros. Taylor does a backflip on his
oh,
introduction.
brother, this was great. First of all, I don't know if we had ever heard up until this point, his nickname is the Outsider, which I was like, how and why? What does that have to do with anything? He's not necessarily an outsider to any. I mean, if anything, he's been brought into the fold with Cyril Gahn, GSP, John Jones. I mean, the list fucking goes on and on. This guy is not, if anything, he is a fucking insider. But anyway, Taylor, the Outsider Kata, does a backflip and then jumps up with the point like this dude is in a boy band. I was like, bro, that is some smoothness right there. He backflips and hits you with the in sync.
Yeah,
I was
right,
like, wow,
exactly.
all right, I like that. But yeah, so that's his announcement. Ibrahim gets announced as with a flawless record of 12 wins, no losses, and a draw. Buddy, that is not a flawless record. There is a draw on it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty funny. I did not catch that. But so after this, we go right into the face off in the cage. We don't get a glove touch. Oh, Ibrahim is the champ, by the way. I don't know if
Right. Well,
we
that's
didn't
what
note
these
that.
have been title for every time that he's been facing Ibrahim, except for the first time, he has been the champion, I think.
Okay,
Or he might have even been it then too. Who the hell knows at this point?
gotcha.
But one other note that I had was that, yet again, our buddy Taylor Lapalus on commentary, the
Yes.
man never stops working. Shout out to the homie. But they're on commentary, and the commentary says, talking about Taylor, he's been criticized for his lack of aggression and being too gentle. I'm like, you mean getting his ass kicked up until the point where the script decides that he's not?
Yeah. So and
Anyway,
this fight, you'll definitely get more of that because
plenty.
and this is one is because it's a TV show because it's cinema, it's hard to gauge, when you have 5 minutes in a round and a couple moves on screen, and you can't just put 4 seconds later. Like you have to, pass some time. So there's a lot of moments in the fight that the rounds just pass quick, or sometimes they take really fucking long. And it's because there's no proper way to gauge it when you're just cutting between movements. Because the fight starts, the immediate first thing that happens, the first strike thrown, Taylor walks across the cage, throws and lands a wheel kick that drops Ibrahim.
Yes.
Oh brother, this is how you know this is going to be gold. And then Ibrahim gets up and takes Taylor down instantly. Takes him down
Immediately,
instantly.
he gets the spinning kick from Taylor and then immediately starts getting his ass kicked again. I
Gets
mean,
taken down in
yeah.
bottom mount and getting mauled, and then GSP do the Grammy roll, do the Grammy roll, and then he finally rolls out of it. Ibrahim's cooking him with the uppercut, and then he locks the hands, and I wrote he's gonna go for a ride. He definitely gets dumped on his back,
Yep, nice
go-
slam.
and then goes in for the triangle choke. And actually, this is a really funny fucking moment. So he goes for the triangle choke, then transitions to a rear naked choke, then transitions to an armbar. Taylor gets out of all of them, gets up and rocks Ibrahim.
Yeah, I
Oh,
said
Jesus.
Ibrahim with a nice slam into every common submission that there is,
Yes,
including a
exactly.
perfectly cinched armbar that somehow Taylor just rolls through.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so that was what happened there. Taylor gets up, rocks Ibrahim's going for the finish, the round ends.
Right.
Woo. And then we
Saved
get
by
the
the
end
bell.
of the end of the round antics between them. They're getting in each other's faces. They're in the moment. Round two start. Oh no, sorry, GSP, and he gives this speech like 4 times during this fight. It's really funny. He says, "Go out there and kick his ass now." That's the first one that he says. The other one we'll
Yeah.
get to. Taylor goes in there, immediately gets rocked once again. Gets immediately almost flatlined. Right. Then we get an uppercut from Taylor, which rocks Ibrahim. Getting cooked up against the cage. This happens 3 times in the fight. He gets cooked up against the cage, counters after a flurry that drops Ibrahim. Then he goes for a leg lock,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then the bell rings, and then Ibrahim throws a knee, and that is right after the bell that knocks Taylor out. GSP is in fucking awe. They have fucking, nobody knows what's going on. Like, what's going to be the call? I wrote Iron Turtle moment because that's exactly what we just saw in this last week.
Legit.
So, then GSP is in the corner encouraging him to quit. He's like, "You don't have to do this. You're going to be the champ if you quit now. Just don't go back in there. You don't need to. You're compromised." Taylor says, "Nope, I'm going to do it." Make note that the ref says, "I'm not going to let." This is actually a really funny. This could have been an interesting moment for the show. Like, they do a lot of interesting things, and they say things that could lead up to better moments. Like, the ref says, "I can't let you fight unless the bleeding stops." And oh my God, this is so funny in this moment because Taylor says, "Don't worry. Okay. I got this." And then he closes his eyes and he stops the bleeding himself. I don't know if you guys caught on to this.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to see if that was that time because yes, I remember that part, but I'm like,
So what
because
happens is, so Taylor wants to fight. GSP is encouraging him to quit. Then we go to the scene where the ref goes and takes 1 point from Ibrahim, which I thought was ridiculous. Should have been 2, but either way. And then they go back to GSP and he's telling him it's not about the belt. And Taylor says, "I can beat him now." And the ref comes up and he says, "Fight can only go on when the bleeding stops." And then I wrote, "He's going to stop the bleeding himself." And
oh yeah, okay, now I got
this
it.
is
Yeah,
where GSP goes, "Go give him hell, kid." And
right.
that was
And
iconic. He
yeah,
says
and so,
that one a couple times.
no, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm going through the progression here. So yeah, all pretty spot on with all of that. I also did have that commentary as all of this is happening. Commentary explains the potential outcomes to the audience. Yet again, at least the show is making an effort to explain things for people who are
Yeah.
not like ensconced in the MMA world. But Taylor Lopoulos, I thought was pretty funny, saying, "As a fighter, there's a case for quitting here." Which I'm like, you don't really want to hear that from a fighter. So Taylor Lopoulos, maybe
Well,
not the best thing to say as a fighter yourself. But GSP does say if he's disqualified, you'll win. And I'm like, that's what we call the Aljamain Sterling special right there.
mhm. I
But
know. I thought GSP, I like for GSP to get on screen and say that, like, I don't know. I felt like I was robbed of a moment for him to be like, "You don't want to take this moment out." Like, that would have been the cinema moment right there. Is, the Leon, we'll get into it.
yeah,
The moment right there where GSP lights the fire under him, like, "You don't take this fuck." If Taylor doesn't want to quit, he's saying, "I don't want to do it." It's like, all right, fine, we're not going to quit. Then go out there and whoop his ass.
sure.
Don't. And so I think it is so funny, and you're not finding it as funny as me. He stopped the bleeding,
Well, yeah,
dude.
so that's what I was getting up to. So yeah, they take the point, his corner, because this all happened right at the very
Yes.
end of the round. So they're in the corner at this point. The point is deducted. Then they go. The cornering starts. I love that Ibrahim's corner acts shocked and appalled that the point was deducted. Like that wasn't the most blatant foul of all time, but whatever. The fight can only continue when the bleeding stops. I was like, is that an Eris rule or is that a general rule? I mean, because we've seen fights where the bleeding
It
has.
literally just comes right back
Yeah,
out.
exactly. I mean, like, so I guess maybe just have to have enough Vaseline in there. But yeah, I mean, I don't remember that he actually like psychically stopped it, but
He
it
did.
did.
No, he sat there. He was like, "Okay, hold on, I got this." Yeah, he literally took a deep breath, and then the ref walked away. And then they zoom in on his face, and like you can see the sweat coming down. And then the ref comes back, and he's like, "That's good for me. Let's go."
Yeah, yeah,
It was like one of those moments where you're like, "Wow, he really is superhuman. He is Batman. Like, wow, this is what he can do."
right.
And then the girl who's in his corner as well, his girlfriend, because she doesn't sit in the seats anymore. No, she's in his corner.
Yeah, fine.
Um,
She's been upgraded.
Yes. So she says, "Don't forget what he did to Boss." That's key to
Well,
note.
that is super key to note because the next note that I have is that when round 3 starts, Ibrahim comes out with a crazy flying knee, but
Yeah,
Taylor sidesteps it, so he didn't get caught with it. But then Taylor immediately goes in and he's talking to him, Kevin, Kevin,
Holland.
yeah, Kevin Holland style, saying, I know what you did to Boss. And Ibrahim has that oh shit moment for a second there, and then just kind of goes back into fighting pretty well though. It's not like
Yeah,
it like really shook him. He's just like, he's like, oh shit, and then he goes in with a big teep, and
yeah,
he's like, I'm gonna knock you out and then call the cops.
yeah.
Was what
Oh
Taylor
my
said next.
god, yeah, that was a Ricky Simone moment. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it was slightly
dude.
different for that, but
I,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I think it's funny to notice like they brought that plot point up for Taylor to say it in the fight, but what ended up happening for Ibrahim to lose the fight, well, whatever, it's not that moment,
Right.
it has nothing to do with that. We'll talk about what it is, but I think it's funny they brought up that plot point and it literally didn't shake Ibrahim. He didn't have a moment where he's like, oh fuck, like he knows, like, something like that.
Yeah,
So
that's what I mean. It was like he had a minor oh shit moment, but it wasn't enough to like really sway or do
yes.
anything. It was like he went right back to landing some really nice shots. Right after he said, I'll knock you out and call the cops. Ibrahim lands a huge counter shot into
Yep.
nearly finishing Taylor, who's saved by the bell for the millionth time.
Yep, absolutely. And okay, no, I was wrong. I definitely was wrong here. I thought they added an extra round somehow. Okay, so this would have so yes, that ends the round. Saved by the bell again after he gets knocked down. I wanted to mention there was a good sprawl in between there that Taylor had, but he lost the position right away and started getting beat up. Then after, so Bell ends the round. That's end of round 3. Then
Mhm.
we get in the crowd and we see the Taylor. Come on, guys.
Oh,
Taylor,
I
right?
cannot believe
Right?
that they really did.
Taylor. Come on, guys. Come on, Taylor. Taylor. Like they were doing it. They were
They
going
had the
for it.
the one guy softly starting the chant, and then everybody joins. I was like,
Yep.
bro, they really went for it. It's like how many? I really like if somebody who's not one of us, because I don't think either of us are going back to rewatch this show, but somebody out there should really go through and tally up all of the cliches that are in this show, because like this would be like a field day for like TV tropes or one of those kind of websites like that tracks all that kind of stuff. I mean, you just toss them on, toss them on,
Yeah.
toss them on. And that one on there, I was like, bro, I can't believe that they really went for it, but they did.
So round 4 starts. Front kick to the face instantly.
Michael
Taylor's
Chandler,
losing
Tony
again.
Ferguson style.
Yeah, and I said Taylor's losing again, and that's literally all that I have for entirety of round 4. It must have been a quick one, unless you have any other notes. Taylor was
Um,
just losing.
I said that. Well, so commentary at one point. Well, so they are. I don't want to say they were clinched, but they were kind of like they were sort of like neck over neck, and they were like punching at each other, like kind of at like super close range, like
Mhm.
almost as if they were clinched, but it was like they were just kind of both going for punches. And commentary goes, they're neck and neck despite Ibrahim's power. And I was like, I guess they literally mean that they're clinched because, or like in a clinched sort of position, because Ibrahim is clearly mopping Taylor throughout this entirety, or the entirety of this fight.
Yes.
And then and then that was pretty much it for that round. And then going into the Ibrahim's corner afterwards is the next note that I have.
Well, okay, so it goes to GSP first. I actually want to
Uh,
make a note that he says it's you against you. That's one thing I have note there.
Classic.
And then yes, we go to Ibrahim's coach and well, Ibrahim's corner where he then is telling the coach off that he doesn't need him. I'm going for the finish. Blah 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 blah. Go fuck yourself.
Well, the reason that he does that though is because Ibrahim's shitty coach, who I believe is the guy who they think stabbed Boss, by the way. I think it's that guy because it's the only
That
bald.
dude looks And
Yeah, that's what and I think that's also why, like in season 2, we would find out that it's not actually him. That's what I think is all setting up for all of that, like that part of it. But anyway, if who knows? Again, it's like hard to keep track of every single detail with this thing. But I'm pretty sure that that's who they think is the guy who stabbed Boss. But so that dude is going in there, and this performance from Ibrahim has been fantastic. I mean, granted, he's taken a couple of shots from Taylor, but like he has been running this fight, and his coach, for some reason, is calling this amazing performance absolute dog shit, to the point where Ibrahim finally says, like, and rightfully so, what the fuck are you doing with this cornering? Get the fuck out of here with this
right.
shit.
Yeah. So he tells him to leave, which he actually doesn't leave. He just goes back to being in his corner, which probably the right thing to do. You don't want to cause a scene, but either way. So yes,
Yeah.
we go back in. GSP bring him hell, kid. He gives him the same speech again. Give him hell, whatever you say. Round starts. Taylor gets rocked again. He gets rocked again, put up against the cage. And this is the moment where you see this is the worst example that the show could have given you for what they're trying to portray. So they're trying to portray that Taylor and Ibrahim are both gassed and that they are tired. But what they are showing is horrific for what actually happens when two people are tired in a fight. So I'll let you explain it.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, going into this fifth round, Taylor looks as dead as he did after the KSW tournament. Like he was like gassed beyond like his body's limit, basically. Round 5, Ibrahim is blasting his body with a ton of shots. Taylor is shelling up, and then he just sort of stops. Ibrahim just kind of like pulls back for no reason, really. And then at that point, Taylor lands the Leon Edward head kick knockout. And this was the point where I was like, this show is really pitiful, because this is like the exact intersection of where the poor writing and the MMA fandom of the writers culminates in a way that is the least satisfying that I could ever imagine. Like this, also, first of all, the kick didn't even look anywhere near as bad as the 800 power shots that Ibrahim had landed throughout this fight. It was kind of just, it was on the face, but it was just kind of a decent little tap to the face.
I don't think you're doing justice for how they were standing. Like the way that they were standing in the fight when they were gassed. Ibrahim stood straight up, put his hands on his hips, and just took big old deep breaths. And Taylor just stood there, also just put his hands down, and they looked at each other. The ref actually is telling them,
Yeah,
"Come
you
on,
have to
guys,
engage. Yeah,
let's go, let's fight." They fight a little second, and then they stop again. And they stand straight up and just look at each other, and they're just and it's like the worst example of two fighters being tired, because we see people tired all the time, even the big old fat heavyweights. They don't look like that. They're like hunched over, they're labored, they're taking big old deep breaths. They're not like, just taking a scenic moment, and it was just really bad to see, because then, yes, after you see it, they get into they go back from standing idle, like they were just idly standing in front of each other. They try to engage again, and Taylor, yes, lands the Leon Edwards head kick, which, who fucking cares, to be honest with you? Taylor's celebrating. Good fucking job. Boss is going to be so proud. What to note, Surreal Khan brings out the belt to wrap around Taylor. And I also would like you to know here, GSP vanishes.
Yet another fading into the mist of GSP for sure.
Was he even there?
Yeah,
Who
right.
knows?
It could have been an apparition. Who knows? But yeah, no, this has to be one of the least satisfying conclusions I could have imagined for a show with this many plot twists and turns as far as this fight goes. And you talked about earlier things being unearned. This is yet I mean, this has to be the biggest example of that. This dude just won a title shot with essentially, I mean, you call it lucky, you want to call Leon Edwards' kick lucky, who knows? That's up to you to decide if it was lucky or not. But the fact that he had been getting murdered throughout this entire fight, then this very unrealistic gassing on both sides situation happens, and he just plucks a kick out of thin air to become the champion of this organization. It felt so contrived and so dumb, and such a waste of us watching up until this point.
I think what's key to note is, like, this is cinema. These are people that may not necessarily be in tune with the sport as we are. Yes, the training is very good, because people hitting pads, people hitting the bag, rolling, it's very standard. But like when it comes to recreating what an electrifying fight would be, I don't think they understood the memo. Like, this was not the way that the fight ending was going to be like fulfilling to the fans. After a 5-rounder, the two dudes standing in front of each other like this, and then boom, head kick. It's like,
no, I would counter by saying I think that the writers of this show are a little too into the sport, because I really do believe we've seen, and I don't have an example like at the ready for this, but I know that over the course of these reviews, we've plucked things out as like, that's a thing that parallels this thing that happened in real life. That's a thing that parallels this, instant in the sport. Like, there are little like echoes of real events that they've been like kind of peppering in. And this, obviously, I mean, this is the most,
Yes.
obvious one, but like, this is obviously the Leon Edwards, and like that in and of itself, like, because they would think, man, people are going to recognize, oh, like Leon Edwards, but it's like, yeah, exactly. That's dumb though, bro.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm like, this is just it. Like, I think that they are a little bit too fans. Like, that's what I've said from the beginning with this show. I think that the writers of this show are more fans of the sport than they are professional television writers, and it shows through the plot points.
It showed every time John
Right.
Jones was on the screen.
Oh my, dude, don't get me started on that
So
one.
either way, Taylor wins the bell. GSP leaves. Cirogon wraps the belt around him. Taylor immediately grabs the mic and says, "All right, I appreciate everybody. I'm not fighting that guy again. He can go fuck himself."
Yeah,
You know,
I did think that was pretty funny too. Yeah, Ibrahim is kind of just sitting there all dazed and kind of pitiful at that point after being the big bad guy, and he really was just like, yeah, fuck that guy, never
yeah.
again. This one's for boss and for my team
Not,
and my two dumb friends and my girlfriend.
dude, the way that he says, "This is for boss," not his name,
Right.
not his first and last name,
Well,
just
everyone
boss.
in France knows he's boss though, bro.
They may know a boss, so they're probably like, "That butcher down the street, he is the fucking man. God
Brother,
damn it."
if Six Guns Gibson knows him as boss, everybody does.
True, true. So then we go backstage, we're celebrating, everybody's getting the champagne out. Taylor is saying he's gonna have a water, he's cool. Well, don't worry about it. Royd friend, he's gonna go get him one.
Oh,
But before he walks
yeah, I
out,
would
nope,
say you're way
before
cutting
he
ahead.
walks out, that's what I'm saying. Before he walks out, you get a UFC matchmaker. Did I miss which one this actually was?
Well, this is a funny note. I'm glad you asked. So the name of this person in the show is Mike Hamilton, UFC matchmaker, who comes backstage after the fight. This is not a real person, but the character is speaking with a vaguely Australian accent, but it's very, very slight. So this was probably supposed to be Mick Maynard, but he didn't want any part of this shitty show.
Jesus fucking Christ. So
Yeah.
that's pretty funny. So yes, the UFC matchmaker comes in and he tells Taylor in front of everybody, which is key to know for this next line. UFC France, let's have you fight. And then he leaves. And then the girlfriend walks up and everybody's like in awe, like, and the girlfriend walks up, she's like, did he say what did he say it? It's like he just said it in front of the whole room. Like, did nobody, like, everybody literally was at a standstill when he walked in. You didn't pick up on it? Like,
Oh,
he
no,
obviously
yeah.
walked, like that's what I'm saying. Like, the
Yeah,
girl should have
and
picked
also,
up on that.
well, yeah, and also welcome to the UFC after essentially the luckiest win of all time because you did not earn it. That's I had to, I was really glad that you made that note about him earning things in this show because I have in the notes at this point, did he really earn this? And the answer is no, he did not earn this. I mean, granted, yes, he got the knockout in the series of the show, but if you have watched the show up until this point, it feels very hollow and very cheap.
Very cheap is the next note that it goes right into my next note. So they go in and they're popping I actually was a little ahead. So they're popping the champagne now. Nope. They don't actually pop it on screen. They don't have champagne to pop. It literally is just like, he just like, hey, we got the champagne. And then the next scene, like the lid's off,
Right.
Very funny. And then the Royd, Taylor says, no, I'm good. I just want some water. Like, and the Royd friend's like, you know what? You've earned some water. You know what? That's cool. Let me go get you some water.
Anything for the champ.
Anything for the fucking champ. And then, so Royd friend leaves, and as he's walking down, he runs into two guys. And in my mind, I'm like, ooh, these are like mobsters kind of thing. He's got a gun in that bag. Like, he's going to go in. So that was my mind. These are just drug testers. These are drug testers that are passing in the hallway. The Royd friend is telling him, dude, don't worry about my boy. He's celebrating. Go get everybody else, then go get my boy. And what's funny to note is that I'm pretty sure they just went and walked in Taylor's room anyways. Like, it literally looks like they just went in the same room that he walked out of. But
right.
I think this ending that we're about to get into, I want to give some context. I have told a couple different people about this ending because, like, it is so unbelievably scummy and just like insane that this is the ending. So you got to remember, Taylor just won the belt. He's now the champion. He's celebrating. Even his friend tells the drug testers, "Don't go worry about my boy. Don't go look at his dick while he's pissing. Let him celebrate." And they're like, "Cool." Royd friend goes to grab the water. He takes an extra look around himself, and he has a plot, and I will let
Yeah.
Thinker go ahead and say some
Sure.
things.
Yeah. So okay, just to get the notes out here. So yes, you're right. He goes and gets the water. He walks out of the room with the most villainous look on his face as he's leaving the room as well. Like, I mean, if you thought, because he's talking nice to Taylor, of course, but if you thought that that was actual legitimate friendship, well, boom, the face will tell you otherwise.
Yes.
Bumps into the Eris anti-doping crew, who do look like the biggest group of gangsters. I was like, oh, okay, we got mobbed up people. No, it's the anti-doping committee, and why they look like they stepped straight out of, like, the Russian mob, I have
Yeah,
no
normally
idea.
they have polos and shit on, like
They would just look like professional people with maybe like a kit of some sort, but
right.
they had looked like they had like a backpack full of weapons. Like, these dudes were looking tough as fuck. I was like, Jesus Christ, these are some real gangster anti-doping. They take their anti-doping seriously in France,
Yeah,
apparently.
right.
So yeah, he's like, give him a minute to enjoy his win. Gets the water. He's got his trusty little vial of pills there that he always keeps on him, as we know. And the implication is at this point that he's spiking Taylor's water with the doping pills that he is taking. And my note with that was that this is so ridiculous. Are these pills tasteless? Like, I mean, because we'll tell you why in a little bit. Like maybe there's some leeway there, but like it was like it's water. You know what water tastes like. Water
Yes.
has a very distinct taste because it doesn't taste like anything. Anything inside of water has a taste.
I would like to also notice there was two different consistencies between his roids. He was taking pills in the training room, and maybe they're capsules that have like a powder inside of them
That
or
could be,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Because then later on, in this instance, he's got a powdery substance that he was in theory probably putting it and shaking it up.
Correct. Yes,
So
exactly. So we get the implication that he's, maybe going to do something to the water. We don't know for sure at that point. Comes back into the room, gives the water to Taylor. They all do a little bit of a toast. Taylor takes the hugest drink just to make sure that they drive home the point that, that he's taken this, and then we get the reveal.
this is a keynote for anybody who likes to go out and party. If you are ever taking a drink from anybody that has a cap on it and you do not bust the seal yourself, do not drink it. Taylor is obviously a fucking rookie. He drank this. No, he didn't know what was in it, and that's what gets everybody. You don't know what's in it, so if you don't pop that seal knowing it comes straight from the factory, don't fucking drink it. Because Taylor, we don't know what exactly the outcome is. Maybe they were setting up mobsters to walk in thereafter. Who knows? But the implication is he hugs Taylor. Taylor drinks the water. He gives him a hug, and then he's got the powder on his fingers that he's wiping on Taylor's back. Like, I appreciate you,
Residue
bud.
finger. That's what I have in the notes. Is that, yeah? There's your big reveal. He hugs him, and you see on the index and the middle finger there, and on his little bit of his thumb, all the powdery residue from the roids that he put into that drink. Now, again, I have to reiterate: in water, unless this substance is the most tasteless of all time, the amount that he drank, you mean to tell me that he couldn't taste anything in there? Like, I mean, granted, he did take a huge swig to begin with, but like he went back for seconds. So obviously he did not
Man,
taste
this water
anything.
tastes fucking good.
This is the best water. There's something about it that just keeps me coming back. I don't know. I
He's
feel
looking at the
stronger.
label like, man, fucking I have never had this before. Yo, like,
Yeah, so and I mean that's basically where the show ends. How unfortunate, we'll never know what becomes of these well-developed characters that we've grown so attached to over the course of these 5 episodes, but that is essentially the conclusion. Am I wrong?
no, that is absolutely the conclusion, and I think that's why Surreal Gone needs to come back and get a part two, because the mom and the boyfriend, they move out to the Ozarks, right? Taylor comes out here, and he's now going to prison. Who knows? Because he just killed a dude in the underground fighting rink. He's now on drugs. They're gonna start putting pieces together. Ibrahim's gonna be his cellmate. I think you guys have a real good story coming on your hands.
I think that the speculations that we've put forth are 20 times better than any story that they would actually be coming up with. And I think that that is a big part of why this show is so terrible.
The real question is, if Surreal Gone reached out right now on chat and offered us the opportunity to write the script for season two, what would you think we could do? We could do
Oh,
better?
20 times better. Absolutely. The stuff that we have suggested for this, I think would actually be pretty goddamn decent. Like, we've had a couple of good ideas where I'm like, that actually could be something cool. But yeah, I mean, guys, this will essentially conclude the reviews. So if you want season 2 and you want Thinker and Chase on the writing staff, this is your chance to make that happen. Start tweeting at Cyril Gahn to get this done. Talk to the creators of the show, send them these reviews, and tell them that we have ideas. Because like, there's a lot of different directions that it could go if you really wanted to go there. Because what you said is not bad. My thing is we are left on a cliffhanger as to whether or not Boss pulls through from the coma. So does he come back at all? Does he actually pass away? I think it would actually be kind of a ballsy move if they did let him pass during the transition. Be like, because you're left not knowing. So at least I would think, since he's a main character, that he is going to pull through. But it would be kind of ballsy for them to be like, nah, he passed though.
So what do you think season 2 would have been like? Picking up episode 1 of season 2, what do you think they pick up at?
Oh my god, what
What
amount
would
of
you like with what we've seen? What do you think that they would be trying to reach at with this ending of him, like, oh, now he's like suffering through? I mean, obviously they love John Jones and they want to fucking have the pictogram shit come in. So who knows? But
yeah, I would think that because of the spiked drink, that they would overturn the victory, because it was again a title fight as well. So the belt's on the line. I would think that they'd probably overturn that, so Ibrahim would retain. So there's still going to be that dynamics floating out there. But now, because he knows that the only person who could have done it was the friend, I had already said that I thought that they were trying to set up the friend and him to be rivals eventually. I would think that would be the direction that it would start to go. He'd probably, so there you go. Here's how it goes, at least based on what we're talking about now. Coach, maybe Coach doesn't pass away, but either way, like, I would say that Coach passes away from the stabbing. Now he has no reason to stay at the gym, even if if he had any reason before, he doesn't now. Friend spikes his drink, he leaves, goes over to Fernand Lopez's gym, like I had said that he should have earlier on in the show. Now him and untrustworthy friend can start their rivalry, fights that dude. Then now it's building back up to get the rematch, and him trying to clear his name of the doping, but no one believes him because it's such a fucking unbelievable thing that someone would have spiked your drink.
Yeah, I don't know.
Girlfriend leaves him for the funny fat friend.
Literally, dude, there's so many places this could go. I'm telling you, she was real chummy with him. She was ready to leave him for any other fighter that was going to go knock out anybody else down the street.
I liked your idea of him getting buff in between seasons, though, and coming in like ripped, and then so now she has a reason, because that she's a little bit of a hopper based on the fact that she went to him only after he started getting good at fighting.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, man. That's always my thing when it comes to a show like this too. It's like the funny fat friend. The development has to be that he gets in shape. You're hanging around a mixed martial arts gym. It's like, are you not competing, or are you just like the nerd guy that just hangs out that doesn't do anything? I don't know, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that at least that's what he has been now. So that would be a nice twist there. If like he came back and was like, I'm taking it seriously now myself. I'm not just going to be the guy washing the mats anymore.
I was the one that told him to put the roids in there, dude. I set you up. I'm going to be the best.
True. Oh, another thing that could come back in season 2 is Red One. I think that's there you go. Now he goes over to Fernand Lopez. That's where Red One went. So now he's like linked up with Red One, who's I think that they had said he's in the UFC at that point in show terms. So like now he's got like a new set of people that are like, he's actually going to be training with this. The PTSD starts playing a factor again, but he's able to actually overcome it. I would like them to drop that storyline altogether. If like at this point, if he's supposed to be a champion now, like just let that die. But like knowing the show, they probably won't. So maybe it'll just come back sparingly or something.
I don't know. I feel like now that I think about it, the girl really didn't do a goddamn thing this entire show. Like
No,
she had
was
nothing.
Yeah, no. I mean, well, she did win her own fight, so maybe they developed her storyline a little bit. Yeah.
She had one fight that we saw. I don't know why they actually cut, like, that could have back thinking about the dynamic of like a couple rising through the rank. Like that's something interesting and new. Like they're both trying to be one. Maybe she's like an actual great fighter. She's in the UFC, but she's like, with somebody who's an amateur fighter and he's still trying to make his way. Competition's a little different. There's a little clash of heads because she wants him to be where she's at, but he's trying to explain that it's a lot different. I gotta pass a lot more hoops, whatever you want to say. I think that could have been a cool one too.
Well, yeah, and then if it goes in the way that I had kind of outlined, where he leaves the gym, maybe she wants to stay at the gym because she's like, well, I mean, my training has been great over here, and
Mhm.
like, I've been doing really well with this current team. So, that could be its own dynamic where now it's like, I still want to be with you, but like I can't leave the gym. And now she's training with Royd friend, so it's like, well, I mean, I'm not going to be with you if you're going to be with my enemy, the dude who just spiked my drink to make me lose my belt. So,
Right.
a little interpersonal dynamic with that. Mom and boyfriend maybe come back in some
Yeah, I was gonna
capacity.
say what's next for them?
I mean, the way that they left it with them, it's hard because they went to an entire different country. I mean,
Mhm.
Mallorca is a decent distance from that. I believe that's like Spain, or like some like an
Well,
island off the coast of Spain, I
and
believe.
I think what also they ruined about that too is, like, they completely just like, they said, "Nope, no mob affairs, like, nothing. That didn't happen, not even
Right.
real. These are just 2 people that have n they don't even know people, you don't like, nobody knows who they are," kinda deal. Like, at first, it was like a thought is like, "Oh, they can get to Taylor because they know the people that he loves," kinda deal, but now it's like, nobody knows who Taylor is. St Like, it's not even like people are after Taylor, like, that was all a sham, so maybe they come back, or maybe there's just a plot line, and this is a very since considering I love the plot line of the social media and the very modern aspects of this, maybe you just get a scene every now and then of them pulling up the draft books, and they just bet on the other dude against Taylor, and they're like, "Oh, he's fucking gonna lose. He's
They're
gonna
just
fucking lose."
they're long distance haters.
There you go. I think that's actually a very good one too,
Well, and
and then
and
uh,
also to the point though, because you just, I was gonna say something about the social media as well. Like, I think that if they went back to the social media stuff more prevalently, there could be an interesting angle with the whole doping thing, where it's like people are saying, "Oh man, well, I was riding with Taylor, but now, with the doping thing," because you know how that conversation goes online.
mhm.
It's very split often. Some people will still ride with people who get popped, that kind of thing. So it's like maybe people be like, I can't believe that was out of Taylor, or like I won't believe that Taylor actually did that, and like maybe the fan reaction has some kind of play into how it's all navigated between the organizations and stuff.
You could definitely play into Taylor's, regretful love for his mother. If you go with the boyfriend takes everything from the mom, he even played her, he was playing Taylor, but then he also obviously played the mom too. He takes all of her shit, takes all the money, and ditches her on the side of the road or whatever. And then she comes back into Taylor's life, and then she's like, "Please, like I really need your help this time." Like and then Taylor obviously is like, "All right, well, it's my mom, guys. I can't leave her on the side of the road." So that could be another interesting dynamic to get into.
I mean, it would be the greatest payoff, from a fan perspective, if she did come crawling back and he was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
After all the shit that she put him through, it would have been that, I think, would have been a nice, like, because we're not getting a second season, or at least not yet. We will never have like an actual like satisfying resolution with that. But like for him to be able to say like, "Damn, you did all of this to me, and now you're coming back. Like, go fuck yourself," would be
See,
kind of satisfying.
if this would have been a plot point that happened in episode 3, and then episode 4 is him getting back on his feet, and episode 5 is his rise to glory, and then the mom comes back and he's like, "Well, I don't need whatever you may have thought that you did for me, sure, but here I am, and you get none of it. You can go on your way. You didn't want me before. You even said you didn't love me or whatever. I'm a disgrace. You weren't whatever." I think that would have been perfect for this plot line to be in episode 5 is pretty nuts just to drop off like that. But
Well, I mean, and that's the problem. Like, I can't really fault the show writers for this, because I think that nowadays every show is written with the intention of being an ongoing thing. So it's like, it would have been a lot more satisfying if they had wrapped everything up and given you satisfying conclusions to all of the plot elements. But I wasn't expecting that coming in. So like if we were going to get open ended things, I think that like at least we got some somewhat resolved elements here, and then the stuff that they left open could lead nicely into new things if the writing was good in supporting that. But the way that the show is written, it would have just been another time jump, another new set of circumstances, probably introducing a couple new characters. I would suspect that they would do, and you're just like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he here now? Kind of thing.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think the last question that I think I wanna ask, and I'm not really sure if I know how to frame it, but do you think that the way that this story is framed and the way that it came out is a product of what happened in post for a lot of it? Like, did they just end up chopping a lot of it out, or did some scenes not match up and they just kinda just went for it? I'm not sure why this I mean, obviously, there's a lot of reasons why it flopped, but like in the grand scheme of things, so there was just a huge miss. I don't know.
Yeah, I would suspect it's probably a combination of that and also just not great writing. I think that when that happens, when it comes to filmmaking, like you can kind of see like if we talk to the people who created this show and we're like, tell us the things that didn't make it that you think could have improved the story. Like they'll probably go through a couple of things, but I think if we went through that exercise and still like got to the end of all of their list, we'd still be like, I don't know if that would have really fixed everything. You know what I mean? So it's like I do think that there's probably yes some elements of that because a show like this, they probably shot a lot more than what was able to be shown, but you can't disguise all of the jumping that they do, all of the things that are twisting and turning around with like odd elements that don't really make a whole lot of sense in reality or not grounded in reality, and then tell me that like, oh well, if we had just gotten the things that were on the cutting room floor in there, everything would have been resolved. I just don't buy that.
The last, well, actually, the actual last thing, maybe. Do you think that we watching it as Americans are maybe like, do you think people in France are watching this like, man, this is perfect. Like, this is exactly like what it is around here. Like, or maybe is there like a different rule set for the filmmaking? Like, maybe are they easily more following? Like, are they following it more easily than we are compared to like what we are normally watching?
Yeah, we had talked a little bit about that at one point, like the cultural differences that might be playing in. Because I remember I told that story about Bloomis when he showed me that
Mhm.
movie from Denmark or whatever, and there were like things that were supposed to be, or like it was presented as comedy, but didn't all translate exactly. I mean, I gotta believe that in this modern age that we live in now, that like the even if there are cultural differences in certain elements of the presentation, you can still discern a worthwhile story, like regardless of all of those other factors. Like, because the example that I would give is like Bollywood. You know, like in
Mhm.
India, they have that Bollywood with all the dancing and everything. Those movies are like 3 hours long. Sometimes they actually have intermissions in them because they're so long. And it's like, yeah, if you watch that, there are going to be noticeable cultural differences. We don't usually have like big production musical numbers in American movies, but like you can still tell if the basic story that you're watching is something that's engaging or not.
Storytelling is a very old art form.
It's
So I mean,
predates predates film, it predates radio, it predates everything. I mean,
so I
we've had
so
stories
I
passed
guess
down
you're
forever.
yeah, so I guess it's not really a cultural difference, but there is they just don't know how to fucking do their job, you know?
I mean, I think that they had good ideas and intentions. That would be something that I want to at least say, because we've been pretty hypercritical of a lot of this show, and I think for good reason. But like, if we step back one level, I would say that I do believe that the creators of this show had good intentions as far as putting forth what they wanted to be an engaging story based on the world of mixed martial arts.
Mhm.
I go back to the same point that I had made earlier in the reviews, where it's like they are more MMA fans that picked up filmmaking as opposed to filmmakers who truly understand how to tell a good story, applying that to MMA.
Mhm.
So, I think that that's really what it comes down to. Like they really wanted this show to be good, and to be exciting. I think that that's the other thing too, is that they got a little wrapped up in making the show unpredictable to the point where it was like you're chasing your own tail a little bit by twisting, turning, making this such a convoluted mess of a story to try to keep you on your toes. It's like there's only so many times you need to twist the story to the point where it gets like cumbersome and you're defeating yourself.
So with what you were saying about, filmmakers and MMA fans, I think it's a good balance that we're going to get a movie created by the one and only Zack Snyder, surrounded by the sport of mixed martial arts. So don't you worry, guys. We will be reviewing that one when that comes out as well.
I cannot wait to see how he tackles it. That master storyteller he is. Have actually liked a number of Zack Snyder's films, so I think that there is potential there. But as far as this one goes, yeah, I think that it just tripped itself up too many times. It went for way too many cliches to try to make it a little bit more accessible, and in doing so, they kind of defeated their own purpose with that. They tried to do a little bit too much fan service to MMA fans to the point that backfired. Like again, good intentions, poor execution.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess then the last question of it all, now that we've reviewed all 5 episodes, what would you rate this show, or how would you, how would you class it?
What are we gonna do? 5 stars, 10 rating? What do we?
You pick it, however, whatever you think is
We could do
appropriate.
the boom meter. No.
Yeah, exactly. How many booms do you give it, guy?
This show, honestly, uh, 2.5 out of 5, maybe.
That's
It's
yeah,
definitely not the worst. A two, okay, two. It's definitely it's a hard sell. Like if I told somebody to just like it's really about MMA, like I couldn't tell somebody because a lot of people at work they know I'm an MMA guy. Like I
right.
talk to them about it all the time. Like I come in and talk about the fights every week. If I told them watch this show, this is about what I love, like they would not finish. They would just come into work and be like, I didn't that it just wasn't for me. I couldn't like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was gonna pretty much almost exactly the same. I was gonna go on the 10-point system, and I was gonna go 5 out of 10. I was gonna give it right down the middle, because, like I said, I think that there were good ideas that were poorly executed, and then there were bad ideas that were stretched too far.
yeah,
For
but the
me,
cast sucked, dude.
yeah, cast was not great. Acting was not amazing. But again, I mean, I just
The
like,
physical performances, you can maybe give a point there.
and it wasn't so terrible that I was dreading like watching it. Like, I mean, like by the time we got to episode 5, it kind of was like, okay, yeah, we really just do need to get through this. But like, I was invested enough that I was like, I'm not going to be like, oh man, this is the worst thing that I have to watch this last one.
If they would have done it right, it would have been, it would have been something that you could tolerate. But the fact that we keep seeing training montages where he's just losing every single time, like it gets old by episode 5. Like if I would have went into each episode with a mindset like, okay, let's get through the boring talk and let's get to the grappling. Let's get to the scenes where he's actually doing something. You could probably have a decent time because, like I said, the physical performances when they are inside cages and they are grappling and they're, striking and doing some drills, very, very good. But the story lacks so much that it's really hard to tolerate up until those points.
Yeah, exactly. If they were going to do a second season, they should keep maybe like they could have like the showrunner, like the main guy who created the story to like oversee the basic root of it, but bring in some actual television writers who can like craft a compelling story with beats that make sense and a story like a plot that is followable and satisfying. That would be the big difference.
What I think should happen, if anything is possible, and Netflix is still eyeing, an MMA show or whatever, because this is a Netflix original, they could, say fuck all to those writers. Let's do the cage, but a different region now, and then just make a whole new fighter and just make a whole new story for them. This could be, whatever you want to say.
The Cage 2 Brazil.
Yeah, like anything like that. So
Yeah, could be. So yeah, I mean, would you recommend The Cage?
no.
No. Yeah, I also would not, sadly to say. I think
The
that
ending is good. The ending is like if the ending is like nuts enough that if you could tolerate for 5 episodes, like it is like wow, that is a crazy fifth episode with a lot of information that maybe doesn't add up with the rest. But if you understand, if you like, I'm trying to think. If you are watching the show, keeping up with the characters like we have, it's been fucking months now that we've been on Taylor's story. So these decently are some big old plot points in his life. But other than that, like it is not worth watching the other 4 episodes.
yeah, I would say that if you watch episode 1, just be prepared for a lot of head scratching going past that. Like, so, basically, if you get through episode 1 and you're like, man, I really want to know what happens, then okay, maybe go try
You
it.
won't
But
know what you won't get any of the answers for episode 1.
yeah,
You
yeah,
like
right.
you're only
But
gonna
that's
get
what
up
I mean. More
you know.
okay. I guess I'll take it. Say it this way then. If you like the characters, even though I don't think the characters give you much reason to, like be liked. They're not compelling enough to become likable. But if there's some, yeah, exactly. That
It
the,
just
the,
that's
the
all his
Taylor look,
face
the
is
Taylor
like,
look, it
dude.
is classic. The half eyes. That is true. But yeah, if for whatever reason you connect with any of that, or maybe you're an MMA fighter yourself and you want to see that type of story told, from the ground up to an extent, then maybe there's something for you. But I just don't think that there's really anything satisfying that comes out of this, so I really can't recommend it either.
I don't even think there's a young lad in France that is watching this and like looking up to Taylor as like, man, this is a hero to me. I grew up watching The Cage, you know, like it's I just don't see it possible. The story's just too out there and too unrelatable. Like you couldn't relate to this if you tried. As somebody who's a fighter, you want to be able to relate to the mind, to the eye of the tiger type thing, but not after you quit 7 times, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's just not enough to connect to. So, yeah, I mean, I guess then that will do it for our review of The Cage. We made it, Chase. All 5 episodes now done and in the can. So thank you guys very much for hanging out with us for these reviews. We appreciate it. And of course, this is not the end of us reviewing MMA content, because right on the heels of this, now the next thing that Chase and I are going to be getting into is the Cyril Gahn movie. We didn't get enough Cyril Gahn in The Cage. We need more Cyril in our life. So Cyril Gahn is in a film called KO that just was released recently. So at some point in the near future, both Chase and myself will commit to watching that, and we'll have yet another review of some MMA media around the corner for you. So in the meantime, thank you very much for watching these, and that's about it. Take care.
It's